Bules behaving badly in government spotlight, dengue cases on the rise in Bali, and welcome to a new arrival here on the island of the gods. Stay tuned for details. Selamat siang! Welcome to the latest news from Bali in Indonesia. This is March 9th, 2023. And my name is Bruce. What is the weather like today? You know, it was the last video or two videos ago, I had a weather alert from the government meteorology agency, and the weather has been really, really good since then. I don't know why that is, but it's very welcome. Right now it is 28.9 degrees Celsius. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. The humidity is 71%, and the wind speed is 9.4 kilometers per hour, and it is a beautiful, beautiful day. Wow, love it. And I hope it's a beautiful day wherever you are as well. So this video is pretty much dedicated to the Bule behaving badly. All of the stuff that is going on around foreigners here, misbehaving, it is just everywhere in the news, in the Indonesian news, in the Balinese news, and on social media, both in Indonesian social media and the foreign social media. And so we're going to focus pretty much on that. And dengue cases on the rise, that's important. You need to pay attention to that. You do not want to get dengue. And maybe the biggest thing, welcome to a new arrival. Here is my next grandson, my latest grandson. He came a few weeks early, and he is quite healthy, 3.2 kilograms, not kilometers, 3.2 kilograms, and child and mom are doing fine. They're at home in Denpasar, and we have his big brother and Zoe's little brother, who she said, now he's a middle brother. I said, where did you get that from? I was in Bluey. For those of you who are not tuned in to culture, Bluey is a cartoon series from Australia, which Zoe is just fascinated with now. And so she learned about middle child there. So, okay, so let's get in with the bullies behaving badly. And just a word of caution here. A lot of this is focused on Russians. Russians come up in a number of these articles, almost all of them, in fact. But it's not just Russians. Remember that there's around 30,000 Russians resident on the island. And so you get some Russians that are in the news, and everybody kind of gangs up on the Russians. But there are some reports that just came out today, and I don't have time to put them in or space. And one is about an American guy who starts this petition about roosters. 17 Russians or 16 Russians apparently joined in his petition, but it was started by an American guy. It originally reported as a Russian, which I think is a mistake that is going to be common here as the Russians have been under focus. Second one I saw today is a French woman who was detained at the airport throwing a fit about something, and she was taken to get a mental health checkup. And then article I saw last night, 2 Algerians arrested for stealing luggage at the airport. And so if you're at the airport, keep an eye on your bags. Don't leave them unattended because they may disappear. So it is not just Russians, but you're going to hear a lot about Russians today. Okay, let's get started. Sandiaga Uno calls on foreign tourists to comply with Indonesian rules. As you know, Sandiaga Uno is the tourism czar in Indonesia, and he is making his pitch for foreigners to behave properly. Sandiaga said that the government is rolling out the red carpet for foreign tourists, but he emphasized the need to follow the rules and regulations in the country once they get here. He said the statement is made in response to Balinese people's concerns about foreign tourists' poor acts. Sandiaga said, we will take firm action if they break the law. Of course, we also ensure that tourists can carry out tourism activities safely, comfortably, and happily. Sandiaga talked about some do's and don'ts, for example, on how to maintain and respect religious norms, customs, and culture or the values of the local community, including protecting and preserving the environment. And he mentioned this case of tourists using smoke bombs for photographs at a tourism site. He said it's very disappointing. We think the training must be improved. He also said that businesses that are providing services to foreign tourists need to be controlled and given social sanctions when violations occur. That is, Indonesian businesses. For example, he said when foreign tourists rent motorbikes, they need to make sure, the Indonesian companies, the businesses, need to make sure that they're using helmets and that they're not changing the license plates. And we're going to talk about that coming up. Prof. Sandiaga said that his side is coordinated with the Bali Tourism Agency through the Bali Tourism Board, and at present the ministry is preparing a task force to handle security and order in the Balinese community related to tourist activities. This will surely affect quality tourism, he said, because quality tourists will also be very disturbed by the behavior of tourists who break the law. Quality tourist. How many quality tourists are we getting here? Well, that's going to be in an article coming up soon. In this segment, there is a warning, so pay attention. Russian foreigners make acts violating immigration policy in Bali. Communities asked to report directly. The Immigration Office in Dengue has taken firm action against foreign nationals, again, who violate the rules while they're in Indonesia. This time a foreigner from Russia was sent back to his country because he misused his residence permit by becoming a photographer while he was here. And he came in apparently on a VOA in January and was busted doing photography and advertising it on social media. The 44-year-old Russian was detained under the supervision of the Immigration Intelligence and Enforcement Team, Intel.Kim, who you're going to hear more about, I think, in the coming weeks, where supervision is carried out through social media related to allegations of foreign nationals carrying out activities not in accordance with their residence permit. And so there is, and there has been for quite a while now, a team that goes through social media looking for people that are doing things that are not legal, that are not in line with their visa. So if you are here and you have a business and it is not legal, you're doing something, and you're doing something stupid, let's say, driving your motorbike off the pier into the ocean or whatever, immigration is monitoring that and you're liable to get paid a visit. So you need to be aware of what you are doing. For these type of actions, foreigners will be subject to Article 75, Paragraph 1 of Law Number 6 of 2011 concerning immigration. The article reads, immigration officials have the authority to carry out immigration administrative actions against foreigners who are in Indonesian territory, who carry out dangerous activities and are reasonably suspected of endangering security and public order or not respecting or disobeying laws and regulations. So the foreigner that was taken into custody was sent back to Russia, and immigration has appealed to the public to be proactive and quicker to report directly to immigration when they suspect violations of their visa. According to a spokesperson for immigration, we call on the public in all areas of the province of Bali to proactively monitor and report various types of violations or people who should be suspected of violating rules committed by foreign nationals to the authorities so that strict action can be taken. He said each immigration office has a complaint service that can be used to report suspected abuse of residence permits. And he added, don't worry, nobody will know that you're turning people in. Privacy will be respected. The public is also asked to report first rather than making it viral on social media, because he said when it goes viral, the people that are behaving badly tend to disappear. And so he said, tell us first. Don't just put it into social media. And the immigration spokesperson continued, to all foreigners visiting Bali, behave in an orderly manner by respecting the laws and cultural values of the Balinese people, because they are going to kick you out if they catch you. And here is something, another kind of bizarre thing. Chairman of PHRI Badung says many foreigners in Bali live in guest houses but want 5-star service. So apparently a lot of people who are coming to Bali now are opting to stay in guest houses rather than hotels, because guest houses are much cheaper. And they're here for the long stay, and so they want to cut down on their expenses. Makes sense? The head of PHRI Badung Regency, Igusti Surawijaya, said that these tourists have permission to stay long enough, so they want to save money, so they live in a guest house, as I said. He added, they want 5-star service, but they're not going to get it. And it's not fair to expect people to give them 5-star service if they're staying in an inexpensive guest house. He said he would be open for tourists who had money to stay in hotels. Spend some of that money on hotels and not on whatever you're spending it on. He said for foreigners who are living in guest houses, they need to be able to accept and adapt to the environment in the guest house. And he's talking about this petition about roosters crowing. And I mentioned this just at the start. And so an American had started this petition, and then the other residents of the guest house, who were mostly Russians, also signed it, and they submitted it because they said that the roosters crowing were disturbing them. He said that this is the first time he's heard something like this, a petition like this. He said, if a rooster crows, it's natural, right? If it barks, it's not. So there's no need to worry about this. This is when Bali tourism is booming, so of course there are going to be problems we face. We have to act properly and wisely. That's why we have to be really extra careful in this manner. And there was a short clip on social media of the American who submitted the petition being very aggressive with a Balinese guy who was, I guess, owned the roosters, and said, if you don't like it, go home, get out of Bali. And he got really aggressive, the American. And so this is not good stuff. This is not good for any of the foreigners here. It makes people think that we're prima donnas, that we can't adapt, that we want special treatment. And, well, this has really become controversial on social media. Some people supporting the petitioners, saying, yeah, I don't like them either, and you know, there's a law about this, and people have to keep their roosters quiet, and they shouldn't have them here, and other people saying, hey, this is Bali, and it's part of the beauty of Bali, the culture here to hear roosters crowing in the morning. So Pak Surawijaya said, with the formation of the Bali Provincial Tourism Task Force, it's hoped that all tourism people in Bali can handle the problems related to issues simultaneously and comprehensively. He said this is also called the tourism disease, or disease rather than tourism, because it's impossible for Bali to have zero problems or zero crime because it's everywhere. He said, I have almost visited many big countries, so Europe, America, Australia, Asia, Pacific, all of them. Of course, there are problems too. There's muggers, beggars, crimes must occur, and there must be complaints. So he said, it's happening everywhere, not just here. And so, chill. What do you think about that? And here is another issue on this, and I just came across 4 stories about this morning. Foreigners open illegal health practices in Bali. Professor Wimpie disturbing the medical world. It's suspected that foreigners who are opening illegal medical practices have arrived in Bali using a VOA, visa on arrival, or a temporary stay permit. According to clinician and professor at the Faculty of Medicine at Udayana University, Professor Dr. Wimpie, I don't know how to pronounce that, Wimpie, said that the issue of illegal foreigners having health practice has been going on in Bali for a long time, even before the pandemic. And if you've been here before the pandemic and you wandered around Ubud particularly, you know what he's talking about. He said, it's been a long time actually, and finally I was contacted by some friends, and they were asked why this was allowed. Because some of his friends have reported this from their patients. The patients have said to them, well, you know, I saw a thing for a foreign doctor, and so I went there, and are they allowed to practice here legally? No, they're not, right? And I talked about that a few videos ago about medical tourism and the international hospital that's going to be opening up in Sanur, and how there's going to be a special dispensation for foreign trained doctors. But yeah, otherwise, no, you are not allowed to practice medicine here. The professor doctor said that the local who went to see this foreign doctor saw them in a villa, and, well, it's illegal to have your practice in a villa, he said. Even worse, it turns out they're promoting their business on Instagram, social media. Wow, he said, the number is difficult because it's illegal. The last thing that annoyed me, and I had to write about it while reading on social media, was the advertisement offering ozone therapy. That's one way of a treatment that actually can't be offered like that. The ad was in English, he said, and after going viral, it was quickly removed from social media. In addition to ozone treatments, he said, illegal practices like beauty treatments using stem cells are often also offered openly. Even though, he said, we know that stem cell treatment is still very strictly limited, imagine if there were side effects. This former patient reported that the perpetrator was a foreign doctor who advertised on social media. In terms of imposing sanctions, he said, that's up to immigration, not me. I'm just talking about this issue and that it's illegal and it's not good for a medical situation in Indonesia. He said medical law certainly does not allow practicing in villas, and Indonesian doctors are being chased if they don't have a license or doing something illegal. So why is this foreigner doing his own thing, especially if he's not necessarily a doctor? I think there should be actions. Maybe so far there have been too many viral Caucasian incidents like fake plates, not wearing helmets. Why are you so careless? Do they dare do that in their own country? No, I don't think so. And so this is all gathering together here. There's a lot of steam here. This is like the ball rolling down the hill. Boy, it's picking up steam. Every incident that is reported about foreigners behaving badly here is making social media, is making the press, and it's making all of us look bad, and it's putting a lot of attention on foreigners that are here. From reports that have come in, he said the illegal practices are suspected to be offered in Canggu and in Ubud. The doctor professor said, I have no interest in this. I'm just reporting this because I'm concerned about Bali, the nation, and the state. He said, we as a nation and Bali as tourism must regulate it. Even though it provides a large income for Bali, we must also provide protection for our people and tourists who come here. Because if something happens to foreign tourists, for example, if they die, after all, Bali's name will join them. It means Bali's name is going to be ruined. And this, of course, is one of the big issues that people involved in the tourism industry and apparently the medical industry too are concerned about, is that if bad things happen here, well, it will get out all over the world instantly thanks to social media and international press, and Bali's reputation will take a nosedive. And speaking of traffic, here's a segment on that. Not wearing helmets, inconsequential plates. 147 foreigners caught given manual tickets. So since last Wednesday, 147 foreign tourists who did not comply with traffic rules were given tickets. This is dominated by not having helmets on and having license plates, illegal license plates. That is kind of vanity plates and with their name on it. One had Rusky Tourist, another had the woman's name, and some have their phone number, all sorts of different things. Not just foreigners, Indonesians are also being caught because of this. He said there were 220 violations committed by local residents, and then the rest were committed by foreigners that they caught. And so originally, because of the automated traffic lights and the cameras and things, you were going to be not given tickets manually, you were going to get that letter and all of that. But with people taking off the original plates and putting on vanity plates, well, that system doesn't work anymore. So tickets are being given out again manually. Police spokesperson said, we're not worried just about foreigners or locals who are doing this, but also the businesses. He said that the vehicle rental services need to provide traffic education rules for Indonesia because traffic rules in countries are quite specific. So for foreigners, they may not know what the traffic rules are here. And I know somebody is going to say, there are no traffic rules. Yes, there are. Do people follow them? Yeah, some people do, some people don't. He said, remember three things, and these are the providers of these motorcycles should be looking for. They should have a proper helmet, an SNI helmet. They also have to have a driver's license and a vehicle registration. And if you're a foreigner, you need to carry your identification with you. You should always have a copy of your passport. Or if you are here as a resident, your your KITAS card or your KTP card, something to identify you. If not, you're in violation of immigration. And so you need to have all of your documents with you if you're riding a bike, because you may get pulled over. 2 vehicle rental services were targeted, one Fajar Bali rent motorbike and Guru Canggu. And the cops were there looking to make sure that everything was in order. And in this case, everything was. Good for them. And on social media, I was reading foreigners saying, oh, it's just us, they're just picking on us, they're not getting Indonesians. Yes, they are. If you read the Indonesian press, you'll see hundreds of people have been pulled over and given tickets for not having helmets and for not having SDN cars and not having a driver's license. And do lots of Indonesians do that? Well, I don't know lots, but they do it. Yeah, you see people without helmets on all the time, of course. Sometimes they're stopped, sometimes they're not. And as I've said before, it varies from regency to regency. Some regencies are stricter than others. For example, in Bules, they're much stricter than if you go down to Gianyar. I've seen tourists and locals driving right past the cops, no helmets, no shirts, carrying kids and stuff without helmets as well, and they just pass by. Cops here are a little stricter. Of course, they don't stop everybody, but in the 33 years I've been here, the situation has changed a whole lot. True, back in the old days, if you were a foreigner driving around, a lot of times you did get stopped because the cops figured you didn't have the proper papers. Nowadays, I don't know. The only times I've been stopped by the police are when they do the razzias and they're on the side of the road and they're pulling people over and they just tweet. Almost all Indonesians up here, very few foreigners up here compared to Canggu or Ubud or Kuta. So if you are on a bike, make sure you've got the helmet on and all of your stuff. There's another segment here, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but there was a Russian who was pulled over. He didn't have a helmet, or he had on a fake plate, and he was pulled over because of it. And as you see in the image here that goes with this, he didn't have any shirt on either. And so it said here, the foreigner didn't even wear clothes when driving. Right, okay, and there have been a lot of these images out on the news stories of foreigners who are either on the side of the road talking to the police or who are in the police station and not wearing shirts. Just crazy. That's just crazy. You hit the pavement and you don't have a shirt on, boy, you're going to be in major pain. And dengue. Dengue cases are on the rise, unfortunately. Bali records 820 dengue cases during February. So in February, there were 820 cases, down some from January, where there was 939. Rainfall, which has remained high for last month, is the biggest challenge in reducing the number of cases of dengue. The number of cases in February 2023, much higher than last year when there were 316 cases last February. And these cases are dominated in 3 regions: Denpasar City, Badung Regency, and yes, Bules, my regency. The head of Disease Prevention and Control, Pak Widya, said that in 2022, the numbers were much less, maybe because it was still the pandemic and people were staying home and they were cleaning the house, getting rid of standing water. But now people are out working, and so they don't have time to do that. Pak Widya said in recent years, cases of dengue usually increase every October through May. Socialization on eradicating mosquito nets has been carried out by district city health offices in addition to conducting focused fogging around these areas. But, Pak Widya said, mass fogging is going to stop because it has a dangerous impact on health if too much is inhaled by humans. And for this reason, he said, they're going to go to the mosquito method called Wolbachia, and I talked about this, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, and that is supposed to suppress the local mosquito population that carries the dengue virus. He said 2 areas, namely Denpasar City and Bules Regency, will be the first places to apply the method developed by the World Mosquito Program in Monash University in Australia. Okay, that is it. A lot of focus on foreigners right now, and I don't see it ending anytime soon. unless people start to get their acts together and comply with the law. Ending on a high note, the weather is great right now, and so enjoy it. So have fun. Thanks for viewing. Be kind to someone today. Stay safe, and I will see you next time.